So this is the epaulette, which will be attached along here. So once you've drafted it out, you need to create the base of this here. I've used a layer of couture and 2 layers of my top fabric, and I faced the fronts of my top fabric, the 2 of them facing each other, and then laid on top of the couture. And then I've machined either edge, and then I'll turn just the one in and bag it out, and then press it. So that's your base. The reason I want fabric front and back, because you might see underneath, so don't want to see just the couture, and you might see peeping out depending on what you use here. I've used voile on my other one, so it's a bit see-through, and plus here I don't want to just see couture peeping out, so I've faced it so I've got my top fabric front and back. Just makes your life easier. So once you've done that, your other pattern was a layer of net and a layer of your voile, or you could use lawn. I've used voile on the second one that I've done. This one here is done with lawn. Get a lightweight lawn if you can. So I've tried this one in voile and it seems to be, feels a bit more delicate. So you're mounting the lawn or voile onto net so that it will give it some support behind and keep it puffed out. So how you do that is you've got your 2 layers, the net and your voile in this case, or lawn, and you tack them together as one. So just 2 lines is plenty. Keep it flat on the table and tack it out. Don't pull it too tight. And keep it in a little bit because we're going to do 2 lines of running stitches to gather it up. So you've got it. And then you're going to do on your biggest stitch from about here to here. You're going to do 2 lines of the large stitch on your machine. So gathering stitches like you did on your frills. So the top and the bottom. And then you gather them up and you end up with this. So gather them. Gather them till it fits this, and then pin them in place like I've done on here. And then you're ready to start creating the decoration on it. So just at the moment, just pin them in place. You can do a little running tack to hold it in place if you want. So just have them flush to the edges on either side, and at the outer edges just fold them in a little bit and just have it slightly in from about 1/2 inch in from either end. So tuck it in place and have it ready like that, and then you're ready for your next step. So now we're going to look at all these panes on here, and how you create them is draft them out first and make sure you number them and keep them in the correct order. Yeah, so 1, 2, 5. And how you create them is you cut them out in couture and your top fabric. Put your top fabric underneath the couture, and you can see your seam allowance there. So turn it over, and what you want to do is you got 1/2 inch seam allowance on either side. So what I want to happen is for the outer edge to slightly wrap around, so it's got a little bit of a lip. That way when you look at it dead on from the side, you don't see so much white. So how you do that is, if you shift over one side, about 1/4 inch, pin it in place on the 1/2 inch. You can just slightly go inside the 1/2 inch. And same on the other side, so bring it in, or you can, yeah. And check your seam allowance, so you're going to do 1/4, just very slightly in, not a lot. So this top is a little bit bigger than the bottom, yeah, and you're going to stitch just inside the seam allowance line like this, and then you will come, you can see it's slightly bigger there, come and clip all your curves and then bag it out. This one I've already started putting the decoration on. So you can see it slightly rolls back and leaves a lip. And then from the side you don't see as much white. So press it like that. And then you're going to put your decoration onto it. Decorating your panes, you bagged it out, and we're going to put some of this mill and repeatersham. So remember what I said about mill and repeatersham has this bump along the side and allows it to curve. So try and mimic your curve that's on your pane. And if you just pull it around, so you're stretching the outer side and shrinking the inside. And just keep checking that you've got it, you're happy with it. I think I've just gone a little tiny touch too far. And I feel like that's fine. So I can prick stitch it to the side. So I want to leave a small little lip. So if you look on these ones here, they've been prick stitched, just one side at the moment, and you just want to prick stitch through the surface fabric. So just do it in green so you can see it. And it's a little back stitch longer underneath. Yeah, I'm not going to pull it tight because I don't want it to stay on there. So I don't want it coming through to the other side here, because just in case it did get seen from underneath, you don't want some big ugly black stitches showing. Yeah, and just prick stitch it on in. So you could do both sides. I think I'm just going to do one side because it's going to hold, and that holds it, and it doesn't look so fixed. So I'm just going to do one side, the outer edge. And then you can start attaching them to your base. So I pinned it here and here. And if you look at the angle that it's at, so that helps it to be longer here and shorter here, so it graduates higher in the middle. Pin all your panes in place once you've got them done. So you can see all 5 panes on in here, so you can see how they raise up. They go shallower here and then higher. Yeah. And you might have a very slight gap between them, don't worry. Just space them out till they look nice. And then you'd put bias binding. So bias bind the top here and just turn it in. And then on the bottom edge, bind it. So same front and back. So along the top edge, pin it around. Once you've got all your panes on, pin it round, machine it, clip it, and then completely turn it to the inside like that. And slip stitch it. As like in here, slip stitch it down so it's completely turned back. And then the bottom edge, same thing, pin your bias binding on, machine it, but this time you're binding it around the edge, so you're creating a little lip like this. The pattern doesn't call for that. It's got a little dagged edge. You can do that if you want, but I've just, for quickness, I just threw a bit of trim on it. It's not period correct, but it just did the job quick. Little dagged edge. So if you want to make the dagged edge that's for it, you can. So if you look at the pattern, it's got a little dagged edge. So how I'd create the dagged edge, you could either fold your silk in half, so your two fronts edges are together. Tack it to some calico or something, any cotton, or else you could just do a little iron, a light iron interfacing. And then trace your pattern, the scalloped pattern, on and machine it. And it helps when you machine, when you're doing a scallop. When you come to a point, if you do one diagonal stitch across and then turn and go back, come up, stop your machine, leave your needle down, do one diagonal stitch and then turn, and then you'll get a sharper point. And then this one I didn't put any interfacing on, but it's a little bit too flimsy, so clip all your edges and then bag it out. Give it a press. When you're happy with that, then you could just either overlock the bottom edge or turn it in on itself and then lay it on. So you could just lay it on your finished edge. So you could just tuck it on in place. So if you want to do that, that's your choice, or just if you find a little bit of trim. Don't worry about being period correct, the trim, because it's just a sample. It's only a half sample. But yeah, you can do either or.